Okay, folks, let's talk prepositions. It's difficult, it's hard, you don't like it because it's tough. And in, on, at, all those three, they're the most difficult ones. We have a few rules that are easy to remember somehow. And then we have some fixed expressions. Shall we get to it? Okay, let's start with in. In usually means inside. So if you have something that is inside, you just put it and it's like, yes, the pencils are in the can. However, when we're not talking about place, but time, in becomes a little bit more difficult. When I say no ano tal, I say in. So, em 2015, it's in 2015. And also before months, em fevereiro, it's going to be in February. However, if I have the day and the month, February 11th, February 2nd, February 3rd, then I don't say in, I say on. So, datas completas. A date with the month and the day, it's going to be on February 11th. However, only the month is going to be in February. So you see, it can be a little complicated and we do make mistakes from time to time. Another one that is always in is when you talk about a part of the day, morning, afternoon, or evening. So you say in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. However, you say at night. Means of transportation. The only meaning of transportation where, with which you say in is the car. In the car. All the other means of transportation, bus, airplane, boat, ship, horse, it's all going to be on the boat, on the plane, on the ship, on horseback, on foot, a pé, but in the car. Again, I don't know why. It's the way it is. On, continuing with on, before the days of the week, it's always on. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it's always going to be on. And as I have already mentioned, the complete dates with day and month and year, doesn't always have to be year, but day, month, and year is going to be on. Now, location, continuing with in. Countries, always in Brazil, in the United States, in El Salvador, in Colombia, in Canada, in Egypt, in Great Britain, always in. Cities and states or provinces, the same thing. In Natal, in São Paulo, in New York, in Los Angeles, in Porto Alegre, in Calcutta, in provinces or states in South Carolina, in Massachusetts, in Minnesota, in Alberta, in British Columbia. So all, locations like that are going to be in. If you're inside a place, yes, in the house. You're in the house. I'm in my classroom right now, so it's always going to be in. Same thing with parts of the house, in the bedroom, bathroom, garage, you name it. Parts of the house, always in. And then you have specific locations, hospital, school, restaurant, bank, that we use at. I'm at the bank, I'm at the hospital, I'm at the restaurant. However, there are a few nuances, a few differences. If you are studying, you're in school, it's different than saying at school. When I say I'm at school, I'm at the school right now, I'm in the place right now. if I say I'm in school, it means eu estou na escola, assim, eu estou estudando, I'm studying, I am enrolled in a school. So there's a difference in meaning using at or in. In the hospital also, it usually means that I'm hospitalized. I am internada if I say I'm in the hospital. And at the hospital, like where can you go to get treatment? Oh, you get treatment at the hospital, at the bank, too. At is also used for hours. At 7 o'clock, at 9 o'clock. And then we have all these expressions. There are, we can't really say, it's not a place, it's not time. So what is it? It's not, for example, numa reunião. A fulana está numa reunião. She's in a meeting. Ela está ao telefone. She's on the phone. Ela está no banho. She's in the shower. So those expressions, you basically have to memorize it. Na TV, na internet, no rádio is always on. I usually tell my students, remember the flat screen of a TV on the computer? It's on the surface, and that's why I say it's on TV, on the computer, or on the radio. Radio is not really, doesn't have to be flat, so you can also maybe associate with, okay, all technology or these means of communication that we have today, internet, radio, TV, so you can say they're on, always on. It's on the news, tá nas notícias. However, you can also say in the news, so some are a little tricky, and to be very honest, in English as a second language speaker, because English is not my first language, it's my second language, I also have difficulties remembering when to use certain prepositions, especially these three, in, on, at. It's very difficult because the translation is not always, it's not literal, basically. And then you have all verbs that are transitive indirect. Transitivos indiretos, meaning they need a preposition to tie them to the complement, to the object, and these prepositions change. And some of the verbs are direct, transitive, they're transitive verbs and they're direct. For example, like, I like you, that's a direct, transitive and direct one. And when you say it in Portuguese, it requires a preposition. Eu gosto de você. It requires de. And sometimes it's the other way around. You don't need a preposition in Portuguese, but you need one in English. And when both of them are transitive indirect, which means they need a preposition in both languages, sometimes the preposition is completely different. It doesn't make any sense. For example, one of the ones that my students usually mistake is to marry. I'm married, eu sou casada com, né? Casado com fulano. And they translate it literally and they say, I'm married with blah, blah, blah. And it's actually married to. If you're married to someone and not with, which would be the literal translation from Portuguese. Another one is to suffer. Eu sofro de in Portuguese. And if you were going to translate it literally, it wouldn't be the way it is. You would say, I suffer of, but it's not, it's from. I suffer from. Those are some of the differences that we have. And the only way to really learn those expressions is if you really study them, study verb government, or as we say in Portuguese, regência verbal.